Hi! You ever get an urge to use supplies that you usually don't reach for? Yeah, me too. So that's why today we'll be trying out these acrylic paints. I have never used this brand, so I am curious how they will do. So let's swatch them. So I have a rather complicated history with acrylic paints. I started using them when I was in uni, so I associated it with still life, which I hated. It was really boring, and I just couldn't make myself paint with them even after I finished. But I've been trying to break that association by painting things that I actually like. I really like that there's many different colors. In school, I only had the basic, like the primary colors, because I had to buy more expensive paints, and we also painted on bigger canvases. So it made more sense. But now I will be using much smaller canvas, so I got more colors and just in smaller tubes. I also really don't like mixing colors, so yeah, 24 colors should be enough for me. Obviously, I don't know how they will do on an actual painting, but so far I think they're alright. They're not too thin, which is good. Well, some of them are uneven, like one color will be thicker and another color will be thinner, but with my other paints I think that also happened from what I remember, and I just think it's because of the pigments, so that's not really this brand's fault. Like some reds will be thinner, but most of them are creamy and nice to work with so far, so I think I picked right. I'm also obviously not an acrylic paint professional, so everything that I say is just, you know, my opinion and how I like my paints, and just comparing to the other paints that I've used. Okay, so these are the swatches, and now let's actually paint something. So I prepared the sketch already, and I thought I'd make a series of portraits inspired by fruit, and this one is strawberries, as you can see, and they're supposed to be like their hair buns, and I hope this translates alright. So the palette for her, I want to be light and pinkish, obviously. Okay, so I will start with the face, and I think I will take the Naples yellow and this carmine to make it a little bit pinker. I probably shouldn't be using a brush for mixing, but whatever. Well, I do have this, so let's try how that works. I'm not sure how that's supposed to work here. I think it would be better if I had a flat palette. Okay, let's try this. I think it's still a little too pink. That's better. On second thought, I don't think I like this color. I'll try to paint over it. She kind of looks like me after being in the sun for a little bit too long. Yeah, I couldn't really get a skin color that I liked at first. I've noticed with acrylic paints, I just tend to go darker than I wanted, as opposed to working with watercolors, which I tend to put down to light. But after I got the right main tone, the other ones were easy to make and fairly easy to blend together. I had to start using my watercolor brush because the other ones are too big, and I just hope I don't break them. I am using a 4x4 inch or 10x10 centimeter canvas panel from Michaels. I do prefer these panels to regular canvases. They're just more convenient to store as they're much more flat. Also, this isn't exactly the size that I wanted. I was looking for around 6 by 6 inches at first, but my local Michaels didn't have them, and this was the next best size for me. Okay, now let's try to use this darker color on the nose. At first, the paint wash was way too watery, and I was worried it would just keep being pushed around on the canvas, even though when I was doing swatches on paper it was fine. I'm sure that partly it was because I haven't painted on a canvas in a long time, and I've only done it a handful of times anyway. But after that first scare it was fine. Both the paint and the canvas. I think I just had to get a hang of it. For the main hair color, I'm just gonna use magenta, since it's pretty nice on its own. Or you know what, a little bit of carmine. I had a similar problem with her hair as I had with the face. I wanted it to be lighter, but as I was shading it, I realized that it looks different than what I imagined. So later on, I made a really watered down wash of the white paint to see if that would do anything, and I'm honestly not sure if it did. So I really had trouble picking what paint I should buy. I didn't want to get anything too expensive because, one, like I said, I don't really paint with acrylics that much, and two, I still have big bottles of my, well, better paints in Poland that are definitely more than enough for what I will need for my entire life. One of the first paints that I saw and considered were like 50 cents per tube, and these tubes were much bigger than what I have. And I looked at the reviews and they seemed really runny and would change their colors a lot after drying. And yeah, acrylics will change colors when dry, but you know, within reason. So then I started looking at some a little better quality paints, and well, most of them had just mixed opinions. And I think with this grade of acrylics, it will be a case for all of them. Like, it's all gonna be subjective, and with all of them, you're gonna make some kind of a sacrifice. So I decided to go with this brand because in reviews I saw that it was on the thicker side and they weren't runny, which I think this is the worst thing that acrylics can be, just too thin. I also knew of this brand. I mean, like I said, I've never used it, but I've heard they're alright, so that was a definite plus over some of the other brands that I've never heard of. I also realized that I haven't said the brand of these paints yet. So they are from Royal and Langnickel, and they were about $12, so it comes out to 50 cents per tube, and they are 12 milliliter each, which is a little over 4 cents per milliliter. For comparison, if you don't know if it's a lot or not, the Liquid-X and Golden Heavy Body can cost from about 16 to 22 cents per milliliter if you're looking at smaller tubes. I honestly really liked working with these paints. I might just have really low expectations for acrylic paints, but I find that these are good enough for me for as little as I use acrylics. The paint is not super thick, it's more like in the middle. It doesn't lose its shape when you pour it out, but it definitely can't compete with actual heavy body paints. Now, I don't mind it. I still thin them out most of the time, but when I want to make more precise strokes, I like to use thicker paint, and I can do it with these. There are a few things that I didn't like though, like the fact that there is no information about these paints whatsoever. No pigment, no light fastness, no transparency. And I'm afraid that this is the case for all or just most cheaper paints, as they're not really targeted to professional artists, but rather students and hobbyists. When it comes to pigment, it's fine, and when it dries it doesn't change its color much, and what I really liked is the fact that the swatches I made were very close to the colors visible on their tubes. However, if you add even just a tiny bit of black paint, it will darken the color dramatically. Which, if I was using a lot of paint, that would be good because I'd need less black to change it, but I don't use a lot of paint. So I would take some black, mix it in, and then it's too dark. Now I have to use more of that color to lighten it again, etc. That also tells me that there is less pigment than in better quality paints. But that's where the price difference comes from, so I won't be complaining about that. Okay, so this is mostly done and I only have background left to paint, and I was thinking this like bluish violet color like her eyes. But instead of just making a uniform color, I wanted to make a couple strokes. So I didn't really mix the paint because I don't want it to be like one single color, just like going from lighter to darker. I don't know if that makes sense, but you'll see what I mean. I'm a little scared. Let's just do it in a spot that won't be too important. So it's not as differentiated as I wanted it to be, but I still like the effect, so I think I'll just keep doing that. Okay, so it's finished, and honestly, I'm positively surprised by these paints. I really like painting with them, so let me know in the comments what you think about them, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!